from getting ghosted so many times on Instagram DM and on email because I really had nothing to show for myself. I just decided I'll figure it out. My name is Lenny. Lenny Lenya, the Lenny Lenya everywhere online. I am a primarily fashion photographer, but I also shoot portraits and corporate events. I make content about the creator lifestyle and educate younger creators on the ins and outs that most creators don't seem to talk about. So business, documentation, legal, and technical stuff as well. So how to light and stuff like that. I am an 844 bred person, which should probably age how old I am. Went to primary school in a school called New Light. We used to have closing ceremonies every end of term. So at around class 6 there, my dad started giving me his camera to go take photos and videos of like the ceremony because it was allowed. I think that was my first experience with the camera that made me feel like this is an interesting thing to do. Went on to high school with not much to note, and then when I was in uni, in my first year, I went on an exchange program to Egypt. That was a backpacking experience where we were actually taught how to take photos, composition and the likes. So that I think was the foundation of how I take my photos today. Moving on into now deep into uni, I studied engineering, finished the degree quite knowing that I wasn't going to become an engineer. And so then I transitioned into photography full time. It's been just over a year since. It's been a process of several years. Many people tend to expect that you will sit stewing with your idea over such a long period of time, then present it to them and expect them to receive it because they're your parents. And that's not really how it works. And so whilst my parents took quite a long time getting around, they also showed me that it's not just a resistance to the notion of being a photographer. It's trying to understand something they don't know, because their generation doesn't understand how you can be creative and make a living. From where they come from, it's all about either you're a creative, and so being a struggling artist, or you work a corporate job and you make a living. And so because we're in a new era where you can actually be a creative and make a living, I took it as my job really to show them. So be it gigs I started taking on, or certain opportunities that arise, especially in 2021, I got to work with like Adobe and some other companies, and I was being paid like real money, tangible money, and they were like, oh, okay, so if someone can pay you like this because you take photos, maybe you can actually earn a living. And it's a constant process. I keep showing them every day. I keep telling them about shoots I do. Like today, I keep showing them what I earn, whilst it makes me nervous because if they detach from me, then that's it. But like showing them that I'm actually making a living doing what I love reassures them every day. And that's really what any sensible parent wants for their kids. So just like in primary school when I used to use my dad's camera to take photos here of like our closing ceremonies, he's the one who got me my first DSLR in July of 2017. It was just before I went for that trip in Egypt. And I think that was the day all of this began, because it was out of nowhere. He knew I was going for the trip, but I was going to take photos on my phone and everything. And I was like, no, go with something serious, actually learn these things so that if it's something you want to do, you started from the right place. So I really count the day my dad got me my DSLR as the day all of this began. The next notable thing I can count is there's an opportunity I got to work with Adobe in 2021. They reached out, they were building a new platform for people to like learn on Lightroom. And so they looked at my work and they were like, yeah, your work fits what you're trying to do. So here is the brief, here is how much you're being paid. And it was the most money anyone had ever paid me in my life at that point. So that for me is, I think the day I clocked, if I can make money like this, then this truly is something viable and tangible. And then I think the next memorable moment would be the day I got my Sony camera. I had an opportunity to shoot with a Sony camera like in 2020, and it changed my world. I knew like from that point I was going to get, so when I was able to like save up and actually get it, January of 2022, my work changed. If you follow my work or like check my Instagram, there's such a big shift from like everything before January 2022 and everything after. Yeah, those are the most memorable. When I entered the industry, a lot of knowledge was still very gate kept. The photography industry in Kenya was very much Either you've been in it for 7, 10 years, and so you know your people and your friends, and there's a big sense of like cliques and gated communities basically that you couldn't penetrate if you didn't know someone. Or you are like us who are entering the industry and didn't know what ISO was. So at some point, from getting ghosted so many times on Instagram DM and on email, because I really had nothing to show for myself, I just decided I'll figure it out. So maybe the reason I feel like I've taken longer getting to where I am than most people would is because I've been learning on my own. So a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of trial and error. So many people can tell you that in 2019 I used to be shooting like so often because I wanted to learn something new every time I went out to shoot. And that is what catapulted me to where I am. I've learned 98% of everything I know by myself. Trial and error, experimenting, YouTube videos, courses online, just on my own. There's so many people I look up to, whose work I model after. I tell people, if you see my work around 2020, 2021, and then you look at Lyra's work, Lyra Aoko's work at that time, you'll see a lot of similarities in how I light, in how I color. If you move into like my 2019 era, as well as my last year era, you'll see a lot of influence from Mutoa Matheka with his conceptual work especially. So I tend to model my work after the people whose work I look up to, referencing some of the things I like about them, and then stockpiling those things as things that influence my style. So it could be this photographer's color, this photographer's composition, how this photographer lights, that all inform my style. And then of course, what I like. So when it comes then out to criticism, I tend to look at it as not criticism at me. And so and that enables me to assess criticism on its merit. It could be sometimes people are just like, this thing isn't good. And that isn't criticism because that doesn't tell you anything about your imagery. But if it could be, maybe make sure you light the back of your model's head so that it's not all black, that makes sense, you know? So I assess it on its merit and pick what actually can influence my style and what I want to shoot. Okay, I draw a lot of my inspiration from films, movies, and music, particularly music videos. So be it something I see, or a music I'm listening to, a lyric I hear, or a certain scene that makes me want to recreate, then coupled with either emotions or things going through my mind in a certain season or at a certain point in time. So that's where I draw my ideas from. I'll then try to see if I can get visual reference that matches what I have in my head. So like for what I was shooting today, I couldn't describe it in words. So I usually either go to Pinterest or places. If I'm shooting a video, I'll use a site called iCandy that has like visual references you can use to then not describe to other people and show other people that we're making something that looks like this. Of course, with my own style, with my own flair, etc, etc. Once I have a mood board that is my reference that I can use with other people, then I'll reach out to models, makeup artists, stylists. I have a lot of friends in the industry we collaborate with to then bring the project together. So a stylist will help me see what outfits can be achieved. Makeup will help me see what colors make the most sense on certain skin tones, things like those. I'm heavy on pre-production, so my planning really is what takes the bulk of my projects, because then with good planning, I can come and achieve great results in minutes. I know the lighting, how the lighting is going to look like. I know what the backdrops are going to be. I know what my colors are going to be, who the model is, what the skin tone looks like. So it's all just executing what we've planned. And then post-production depends. For things like, of course, events, there's not much pre-production you can do. So then a lot of the work for that will be in the edit. But for this, a lot of the work is very Photoshop based. So now just using what we've gotten on location to then actually tie it to what we had in mind at the beginning. So be it compositing and bringing multiple things into the same frame or removing certain things from the shot. A project can take me anywhere from like a week to 2 weeks to edit a good amount, so like 10, 15 images. I'm very picky on models that reach out to me, mostly because you want to work with someone you are at about the same level with, so that the trade is fair, is equal. One person doesn't benefit more than the other. So when models that the kind of level other models I work with are that reach out to me, I make sure to talk quite a bit about random stories, especially when like makeup is being done or when you're doing prep or when you're setting up lights, about random stuff. I tend to be talkative when I'm on set. So we talk a lot. I talk to them a lot so that they feel like, yeah, this actually is a real person and whatever. I also walk my models through their posing a lot. Models that are professional but I've never worked with, I allow to first experiment with their posing, see how their shapes come about, what works for them. Then when I find a pose that works for what I had in mind, I tell them to stop there or change this or change that, then get the shot. Another hack I discovered is for models that I've never worked with, they tend to prefer the camera be far away from them at first as they warm up, and the camera like comes closer to them. So I always start my photo shoots wide, camera far away. They get to discover like how the whole body works as they warm up, because everyone warms up. Then now we can get to now close up, more intimate, stuff like that. I first heard about Cameras Africa, I think in 2020. I was in the market for a new camera. I'd been saving up all of 2019, and around the end of 2020, I needed to now jump from a crop sensor to full frame. A number of my peers had been buying stuff from Cameras Africa, be it small stuff like memory cards, SD cards, even their own cameras, lenses. So it came up as one of the options to buy gear from. In 2020 December, when I was finally ready to jump, I got my first full frame mirrorless camera. It was a Canon EOS RP. I missed that camera. It was so cute. It was so effective. It got the job done at a pretty reasonable price at the time. I remember so many other people were selling it for like 120 or 25K. At Cameras Africa, it was like 105K. So it was an immediate, it was like a no-brainer. So I jumped at it, went to the shop on Kenyatta Avenue. By then, the Westminster branch still wasn't a thing. So went, told them what I was looking for. Then the guys there also helped me figure out what focal length would work the best for someone who's jumping from zooms to their first like prime lens. I really thought I was going to get a 35, but it made more sense to get a 50 because I didn't know how wide full frame was. I was really coached on quite a bit. So picking like the proper lens for that camera was pretty much not my knowledge when I was going in there. I used that camera for like a whole year before then I made the jump to Sony. At some point also in 2021, because I bought the camera in December, so in 2021 I needed to now start upgrading my game on like memory cards, and I needed a place to hold it. My favorite accessory in my entire bag is my memory card case, because I got it from Cameras Africa. There's nothing special about it, but for me it was like the sign that, oh yeah, this photography thing is serious. I have a case for my memory cards. I'm not just like dumping them in my bag. Serious. Then I got my first like serious memory cards also from Cameras Africa. So I feel like the chain reaction between getting my camera, memory cards, and other smaller things, my reflector and stuff like that, snowballed into my view on gear as an essential investment for this as a career now. G Master Glass. I'm saving. I hope it will be sooner than I expect. So manifesting clients. But I think the next step for me is now investing in primes that would take my work that bit further. I have all the things I need, like lighting, my camera is good and stuff like that. So it's just investing in glass that I am left with doing. I know it's going to be cliche, but all of the information you need to learn to get you from your first step into the next one is already available to you. I get so many requests on coaching and mentoring, and whilst I aspire to get to that point someday, people tend to forget that so many people you see as being successful online are really just doing their best to survive. It's a harsh economy, clients are sparse, so everyone is so focused on their own thing. No one will really have the time to see a random DM and be like, oh yeah, let me save them. No one's coming to save you, but we live in an era where there's so much information online, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, content like mine that's particularly tailored for beginner creators that can take you from one step to the next. So for as long as you realize that you have everything you need and you choose for yourself to want to take that next step on your own, everything comes there now in due time. Cameras Africa, equipping storytellers.